Welcome back to Your Story Medicine. I am with Monisha today, aka Mo, who is the founder of Moya Body Care. This, I have no idea what we're going to talk about yet, but I just need to say up front that every conversation we have, even just in passing, can be a whole episode within itself. Mo was actually the very first person I interviewed for Your Story Medicine when it was an online summit two and a half to 3 years ago, when I still didn't even know what my business was going to be. We actually met inside of a yurt
Hmm.
for a yoni steaming training. And if you heard one of my past podcast episodes with Chris Gonzalez, that's where all of us communed to reconnect with our yonis and our ancestors. You were sitting next to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it just felt like home.
yeah. I miss that yort actually.
I miss
I
it
miss
too.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was with Steamy Chick, who we were in basically in her guinea pig program, learning about vaginal steaming. And um, it's just so amazing to see how far we have come since that time.
Yeah, yeah. All of us
All of us. Yes,
gone straight up.
because at that time, like you just had your in-person colon hydrotherapy services, and so much expansion has happened since then. So for those of you who are new to Monisha, I'm actually going to link the very first podcast interview, not podcast, summit interview I did with her, because the result of that conversation ended up being people who messaged her from all around the world saying, can you help me?
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, the only way I know how to do that is if your booty is on my table. And a lot has shifted since then.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me read the formal bio so folks get to know who you are. And if y'all want to fly over to Southern California, then do so. But there's other ways to stay connected. So Monisha is the founder of Moya Body Care, which was manifested more than 13 years ago as a holistic and organic body care company treating sensitive skin. But over the years, Moya has become something stronger and greater by offering the very best in colon hydrotherapy, yoni steaming, iridology, Reiki, and herbs. She inspires you to move towards a healthier mind, body, and spirit, and to combine Eastern and Western philosophies with ancient healing and spiritual practices to offer you an experience of holistic wellness that reconnects with your original source of energy so healing can naturally occur. And I am also evidence of that as well. So, welcome, Mo.
Thank you, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
That's intense. That is really
Yeah.
intense. Yeah, time is definitely folding in more ways than one. And I remember when I came into the yurt, you had this most amazing smile. I was like, "Oh, she's so beautiful. I'm gonna sit next to her." And that's how we started, literally, you know. And
Yes.
ever since then, our connection, our communication, our text messages have always been infused with so much upliftment and empowerment and connection. And it's never a, I don't want to talk to her right now. Like, you have people like that, like, I'll talk to her in a minute. It's always like, oh, that's June. Let me go ahead and respond real quick. And it's always been a high level of admiration and respect.
Mm.
And we don't find that often. And I just want to say, I appreciate you. Before we even get
Mm.
started, I wholeheartedly appreciate you and your spirit. And thank you.
Oh gosh, I already have tears welling in my eyes. I'm just recalling that very first interview I did with you, and I was terrified. And I'm like,
You didn't,
what if I
you
don't
didn't feel
say
like it.
things right? And then, then yeah, and then it's just the realization that our stories are so much more than just about us. And for our listeners, your story is so much more than just about you, but the lives you get to touch
Mm.
because of how it is you have overcame over and over again. And I remember after that, because this was before I even experienced colon hydrotherapy. And after that, I was like, okay, I need to come to your table.
Yeah.
And I came at a very difficult time in my life
Mm.
where this was probably about 2 years ago. Never heard of Iridology, but it was something that you offered as a consultation. And you said to me, what has happened to you? Your eyes are so cloudy to the point where I can't even read your organs.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who, well, okay, can you explain what iridology is to
Yes.
folks?
Yes. So, iridology is a very simple science of looking at your eye to see if there are any imbalances in any of your organs, all of your 12 organs. Well, depending on what school of thought, it'll be 12 or 11, but I'll just say 12 to cover all bases. And so the science is that your eye has all of your organs laid out and it's cut into a chart that you can completely identify and say, okay, not necessarily you have a disease or a diagnosis, but let's say if your liver shows up in your eye, I'll ask you questions like, have you been to your doctor lately? And if you have been to your doctor, what were you going to your doctor for? So I'm not leading you, I'm asking you questions. Most of the time, people will say, like in regards to your liver, oh, my liver, is a fatty liver, et cetera, et cetera. And then I can go deeper and say, well, let's talk about your liver. How long has that been going on? Then we create a plan of action. Then we start cleansing. And then we move to the colonic table. So it's a diagnostic tool to help you understand where things are becoming stagnant, where things are not um, being activated, or if there is a disease actually forming. Like you can literally see things happening. You're like, you know what? You may want to go contact your general practitioner just to make sure. And every time I say that to a client, they come back and they go, Mo, like girlfriend, you brought up my uterus and you asked me if I have fibroid cyst and tumors. I thought I didn't, but you recommended that I go to my doctor just to make sure and confirm that I don't have fibroid cyst and tumors. She said, girl, I do. I have about 20 fibroids. What can you do to help me? And then that's when we start cleansing. You can completely purge all that out of your system. So iridology is a beautiful system of just checks and balances. Just check it. And I check my eyes maybe once a month just to make sure everything is going the way it needs to go. Right? It's a diagnostic tool.
And I was pronouncing it wrong this whole time. So, you see, I'm learning alongside you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's totally fine.
But here's what happened when you said that to me. I was like, what are you talking about? I do yoga, I meditate, I'm doing all the things to calm my nervous system. And you're like, yeah, but are you really doing it? And whose energy are you carrying?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was just like that moment of realization of I could be doing all the things that the books tell me to do, the YouTube videos on like healing my mind and my body. But if I am making the attempt to do it by myself, then that is also a trauma response, feeling like I need to keep it all together by myself. I can't ask for help. I'm a strong woman. And it was, I think it was my first colon cleanse with
Mhm,
you.
mhm.
And reflecting on our initial conversation, what shifted for me with colon hydrotherapy was like, oh, okay, somebody's going to stick something up my booty butt. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe I'll lose a couple of pounds, maybe I'll feel clearer.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, a lot of this stagnation is the result of you holding on to shit that isn't yours.
It ain't even yours. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
And I had come back from an experience where I was deeply harmed by other people, and I was doing my response of holding it all together, and you just held my hand in a very vulnerable position.
yes, yes, yes,
And you're like, you can let go.
yeah.
So that is the kind of medicine and magic of Mo. If any of you are feeling constipated, or if you are feeling that stuckness and that stagnation in your body,
Emotionally, physically, or spiritually,
they're all tied together.
they're
This
all
is
tied together.
where Mo comes in. Okay, Mo. So, in your own words, then,
Uh-huh.
well, first of all, what are you celebrating about yourself, especially with all that has unfolded?
Yes, yes. I am definitely celebrating the fact that I'm still here. I am wholeheartedly celebrating the fact that the systems that I put into place to manage my business, to manage my finances, to manage my clients panned out to be the right systems, because during this pandemic, a lot of my colleagues are not in business. Their office is shut down. They're not opening back up. They literally, I don't want to say lost, but they weren't able to hold on to what they created. I, on the other hand, am still thriving, and I'm not surviving. I am literally thriving. My whole entire month, this month is booked out until the second week in April. Literally. The weekday and the weekends are booked solid. Like there's no, I can't do any more people. I could, but then my self-care will start taking a backseat, which I'm not doing. And so the systems that I set in place, I have cried over this so much in 2020 that I'm still surviving. And when I get phone calls from my colleagues and they're like, Mo, how are you staying in business? And I would explain to them, like, well, I put money away because I am self employed. You didn't do that? And they're like, no. Why would you not pay yourself first? I pay myself payroll, but I also pay myself with putting a little bit away, a little bit away, a little bit away, and I don't touch it. And that's just money. We haven't even talked about systems for your business, systems for your clients, systems for working with your landlord. Like I have always had this thing about relationships. You never know when you're going to need a relationship. I am so grateful. I am so grateful because there were so many times where I could have cussed my landlord out, been very rude to him, been very disrespectful. There were a lot of things that happened in my complex where other renters were like, Mo, we need to all band together and like take our landlord down. And I'm looking at them like, no, that's something that you want to do. I have a good relationship with my landlord. I am not going to be bullied into whatever program you got going on. And I'm so grateful I was raised properly with understanding the power of relationships, because when the pandemic hit, my landlord called me and was like, Mo, if you don't want to pay your rent or you can't pay your rent, don't worry about it. He's like, I'll work with you, because the reasons why I'm going to work with you is this: you never give me any problems. You never call me for nothing unless you absolutely need it, and you pay your rent on time. He was like, girlfriend, I give you favor. And I know that wasn't him, it was spirit talking through him as my landlord, right? That's the first thing. And he was like, take your time. Now, here's the thing: I never stopped paying my rent. I may have paid half of my rent one month and then, the rest of it later, because technically we were shut down. We couldn't work, but I never stopped paying. And because I never stopped paying, he was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and continue you paying half your rent for the rest of the pandemic year, or until the end of December 2020, and you don't owe me no more money. Do you know how much my rent is here for this storefront? My rent is damn near almost $3,000. And that's just rent. We're not talking about supplies. We're not talking about internet. We're not talking about cell phone. We're not talking about any of that. We're just talking about just for me to be able to put the key in the door is $3,000. He told me I can continue to pay half until the end of December. And he told me that last year in what, March, when the pandemic hit a year ago. Are you kidding me? You know how much money that man would have lost on me alone? And I said, Peter, I'm going to try my best to give you what I owe you. He's like, Mo, don't worry about it. I continue to pay that man what I owe him. Do you know that man sent that money back?
Mm.
Favor. This is what I'm talking about favor. When you deal with people the way that you want to be dealt with and not be pulled in other people's distraction and bullshit, I don't know what these other people are doing. It's not my business. But my relationship with my landlord is A-okay. And I'm pretty sure people are like, how is she still in business? It ain't none of your business. None of your business. Right?
But I'll take your business.
That part. And that's what I'm celebrating today is the fact that I am still here and people still want me to be here. And I cannot tell you how humbled that makes me. Like I am wanted and not, and we talked about the baby, the childhood stuff, the childhood trauma. I had a very good childhood, but everybody knows what it feels to be rejected. I have not been rejected in my business because this business is a reflection of spirit. And when I honor that, I am taken care of. Yesterday, all of my clients, every last one of them, I had a 62-year-old black male who was a crack addict. He's been sober for 33 years. He lived on Skid Row for years. He was as black as my jacket because he never took a shower because he was always high, right? Always high. Now he's been clean and sober for 33 years, and he's on my table getting a colonic talking to me about spirit. The guy before him was a professional basketball player, stopped playing basketball because morally he didn't agree with what was going on, regardless of the dollar amount he was getting. Now he has a nonprofit where he's teaching young black men morals, financial stability, and different aspects of playing basketball. You can teach, you can coach, you can do this, you can do that. The woman before him was a 20, 28-year-old white woman. I think she was 28. And she is a consultant. And she works with a very, very well-known woman. I have to leave her name absent out of this. But she does a lot of her back stuff for her business for her. We had the most enlightening conversation about listening. When I tell you that conversation hit me in a way, I was just like, I adore you. Like, come through anytime. Even if you don't want to colonic, just come through. Like, I just love talking to you. And then the client before her was an elder from, where was he from? He's not from the States, but anywho, elder in his 70s, gray hair, smelling good, skin clear as all get out. And if I had the audacity, I would have gave him my number because he's just that awesome. And I asked him one question. I said, if there was anything that you can say to your younger self, we just talked about our younger selves, what would that information be? What would you say? And this beautiful God of a man on my table looks over, and now mind you, he's 70 something years old. He looks over in his wisdom and he says, simplicity. Keep everything simple. What? You can't pay for this type of information. And this is all happening in my office. Like people are paying me to tell me what to do. What? And yesterday I was so filled to the rim with appreciation and just appreciation because my day was such an amazing day.
Yeah.
From all different walks of life, all different nationalities, all different educations, all different backgrounds, but I was able to connect with everybody because of being simple and being humble and knowing that my position is to hold space. I am literally a space keeper. That is my position on this planet, is to hold space for other people to figure out their shit. My job is not to tell you what to do. My job is to hold the container for you to figure out what you need to do.
And as a result, as coaches, healers, guides, whatever title you want to put on yourself, we tend to put this pressure on ourselves to be the expert. And what I have learned is that I am just as much of a student to my
Mhm,
own clients.
mhm,
Like, what a privilege, what a gift to be able to be in this person's energy. And I think that people forget you can choose. You
mhm.
get to choose who you surround yourself with. You can choose who it is you're going to work with, because money is that energetic exchange. Money is that access so that we can be within each other's frequencies. So, of course, I'm not surprised that the people who you are holding space for are also getting these intuitive hits, these downloads from spirits to also give you the message it is you need to hear in that very moment.
Mm,
And I'm so grateful that I get to take off that pressure
mhm,
from myself
mhm,
to be okay with also receiving this exchange of wisdom from the people who are
mhm,
trusting me
mhm.
with my own quote unquote expertise. And
Yep,
all of this just comes back to letting go and unlearning.
yep. And just being present. I think, and we have this conversation all the time about being busy, being we got to do. One thing that I shifted in my business when working with clients is that I drop anchor. And that is the best way that I can describe what happens to me energetically when I start working with clients, is that I literally drop anchor so that whatever comes up for them, I'm not uplifted and I don't get swirled up with them. But I am still here holding this container for you, regardless of how tumultuous it may be. I am still here. And my job and my commitment is to stay here and grounded. That's what you're paying me for. So with that comes a high level of self-care. I can't eat certain foods. I can't drink, I can't smoke. I can't afford to have anything mess with my energy that will take me away from being that container for clients. So my level of self-care is very high. I'm constantly cleansing, I'm constantly detoxing. I give myself colonics every Sunday. Within a span of 7 days, I probably have given myself 3 enemas. I'm always taking detox baths, sitting in my infrared sauna. I'm My boundaries are very, very strict. Don't contact me outside my business hours. I'm just like gonna answer you. And people are like, "Oh, I sent you a text message at 10." You will not get a response until I'm back at my office at 9 a.m. Period. I don't owe anybody an explanation on why I operate the way I operate. I'm not for everybody, but I am for some people. And I don't apologize for it. I'm very clear about what my position is. And when clients call me and they're not clear, my job is to help them pinpoint, why are you contacting me? What do you see that you need from me to help you accomplish your goals? Because sometimes other people's expectations of you are not realistic. They're just not. And so I'm very clear about what I can do for people. There was a woman that called me on Monday morning, and it was an urgent message that she left on my voicemail. I'm like, urgent? Why would she be calling me for urgency? I'm not a urgent care or anything like that. So I call her right back. And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm getting married March 20th." Now, she just called me on Monday. "I'm getting married on March 20th, and I was told that you can drop 20 pounds with colon therapy, and I want to book an appointment with you ASAP." Well, the first thing is this: my next available appointment is not until April. So I can't help you anyway, even if you wanted to. Number two, colon therapy doesn't work that way. Colon therapy does not drop 20 pounds. And if it did, I wouldn't be here. I would be in Brazil half naked because I made so much money because people are dropping weight like that. So I had to help her understand the realities of colon therapy. And then she got real quiet and still, and she said, wait a minute. So this is more of an internal shift? And I said, yes. She booked her appointment for when she comes back from after her honeymoon. She booked an appointment. And I was like, perfect, let's do it. She was like, I thought it was this, but now speaking with you, I realized it's so much more. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I feel like being in these bodies, being woman, especially being woman of color, for myself as a child of immigrants, self care was not something
Mm-mm.
I was taught because my parents were constantly working, constantly hustling to be in the American dream. And so I'm curious to hear from you how your lineage, your ancestors, or your family has influenced the ways that you're showing up today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the beautiful thing about my family is that I've always been the one doing things like this. So they're very used to me being not mainstream. From a child, I was never mainstream. Um, when I was in high school, technically all of my classes to graduate were completed in the first semester of the 11th grade. So technically, I didn't have a 12th grade high school. I was working a full time job in my 12th grade. So I've never been like normal. I've never been mainstream. I've never been like, this is what everybody does. And I'm going to do it too. So my family's already used to that. But when it comes to rest, and let's just talk about the simplicities of resting and what that looks like. I am huge on having a very comfortable bed, which I have. I love my bed. I love my pillows. I adore my bedroom. It smells good. It feels good. The textures of the sheets you don't want to get out. The pillows are just like, I got like 20,000 big comfy pillows on my bed. And when my family come over, that's the first place they go to is my bedroom. Like I really, really emphasize your space that you're in, right? This is your healing chambers. Now, my family, on the other hand, when you go in their bedroom, they got big screen TVs, they got all this electronical stuff in there. You come in my bedroom, there's no TV, there's no electronics outside of a cell phone. I have salt lamps in my bedroom, incense, oils, herbs. It smells like a herbal garden in there, actually. And my restroom, my bathroom looks the exact same way. So I have these beautiful glass containers with clay in it, activated charcoal, hydrogen peroxide, apple cider vinegar, because that's how I clean my body in the morning. So when we talk about self-care, it literally is a lifestyle. It's not something that you do for 3 weeks and then you stop. For my family to adopt that, they struggle with that. And I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure it out. My sister is the complete opposite of me, actually. And she's very employee based. I'm very self employed based. So our ideas about what works and what doesn't are very different, but I respect her and she respects me. But sometimes I look at her and I say, the reason why you're not being successful in your career is because your self care is self par. You're putting yourself last. So she doesn't understand that. She's like, well, I don't put myself last. I get up and I go to work on time. That's for other people. You're still putting yourself last and you don't even
Mm.
realize it. My mom is slowly but slowly understanding that clutter in any part of your home, but most importantly in your bedroom, doesn't need to be there. So she started moving things out of her bedroom within the last month. And she said to me yesterday, last night actually, when I was checking in on her, she said, I've been sleeping really good. And I said, for real, mama? How so? And she's like, I don't know what it is. I just feel really good. And I said, well, you've been taking a lot of stuff out of your bedroom. And she's like, oh, that's not it. It couldn't be that. And I'm just like, okay, mama, whatever. What else could it be? Like your clutter is no longer in the room. So naturally, so you have more oxygen so that you can sleep deeper. Like just that alone is going to increase your sleeping. And without rest, you can't heal. And without healing, you can't move forward. So you're stuck in this spiral of just doing this and nothing is happening. Well, you may be getting bloated, you may start getting constipated, your skin may start looking crazy because things are just circulating, but they're not moving up, they're not moving down, they're just circulating. And now she's like, I'm sleeping so much better. And I know it's probably not because of the clutter, but I opened the window. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, Marcus, I did tell her when you're asleep, just crack the window a little bit so you just have a little bit of air, moving through the bedroom. And everybody should do this. Crack your bedroom if it's safe, because sometimes it's not safe for people to crack their windows, depending on where you live. And I totally get that. But if you can, crack your window or just leave the fan on low and turn it away from your bed so that you constantly have fresh air moving through the bedroom. That's going to help you sleep deeper, right? And it's just little changes here and there that will help you live a healthier lifestyle. So my family is still there's they're still very much of this world, of this Western world. I told my family the other day, we were talking about vacations. And I said, if I wasn't so tied to my family, like if I didn't have any family, I would be in Costa Rica or Brazil straight up right now. And I would be living there right now. The only thing that's keeping me here in the States is my family. If we weren't so tight and my son wasn't so tightly knit to my family, and I don't forever see me pulling them away from each other, that I would never do that. But if that wasn't there, oh, we would totally be in Costa Rica or Brazil living a life like nobody. Like it would be amazing. Lime green bikini every day, you know, every single day. I would be barefoot every day and I would just live a life of simplicity. But because we live here in the States, we kind of do have to keep up a little bit if you want to pay your rent.
Mhm.
And that's the sucky part about living here is that we kind of have to do participate in that constant struggle of jogging. You can slow down a little bit, but don't you stop. You can slow down, catch your breath, but then you kind of have to pick up the pace a little bit here and there.
Yeah, but most people are on autopilot
Yeah.
versus giving themselves permission to sit still and feel whatever's coming up for them,
Right.
or we're too stubborn to ask for help
Right.
because it'll be seen as a sign of weakness or that there's something wrong versus viewing visitations to people like you or like working with a mentor or a healer as a way to hold you accountable in staying in alignment with what it is you came here to do. And also to not put pressure on what that looks like.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean building a business and becoming an influencer.
Mhm.
None of that. Like I am learning so much of my joy comes from the interactions I have with total strangers who have no idea who I am, and just silence, the energy exchange from people's presence who have been taking that time to do that internal work can be enough to settle somebody else's nervous system.
I'm gonna share something with you about that. My office is super quiet, and you've been in my office numerous times. It's super quiet, right? I had a client here on Monday, and she's extremely stressed. She's had a lot going on. She's had multiple deaths in her family back to back to back, and she's managing all of that while still running a business, while still being a wife, while still being a mother, and homeschooling because the schools are closed. So her level of stress is very high. She came in And I wasn't ready for her just yet. I just wanted to make sure that the restroom was clean. So I had her sit in the office, in the lobby. And when I was ready for her, I opened the door and I said, "Hey, Queen, come on in." And she stood there and she looked at me. She's like, "I don't want to move." And so I came and I sat next to her and I said, "Well, what's the matter? Did something?" I'm thinking maybe she got a phone call and that she's very stunned. She was like, "Mo, I have not had a moment of silence in 8 months. I don't want to move. I just want to sit here. I can take you to the back, love, and I can have you lay down and I can put the heater on your back and I can cover you up with a weighted blanket and you can really enjoy this silence." And she was like, "Yes." So we didn't even do a colonic. She literally took a nap for an hour in silence. My job is to hold you in light, to create a container so that you can deal with whatever you need to deal with. So not all the time when people make an appointment for a colonic does that happen. Oftentimes stuff like that will happen. She'll come in and they'll be like, "This is just super peaceful. I just want to enjoy this." Because if you realize the level of noise in LA alone, if you just stand outside, it's so much noise. It doesn't stop. And then for you to go into a space where there's silence, it shocks the nervous system for a second. Some people are like, "Wait a minute, wait, I don't know how to function." But then as you sit there for 5 more minutes, your body resonates with that stillness because everything manifests out of stillness, not chaos. So when you can readjust or re-tap into your nervous system to calm it down, you're going to heal. You're going to be better. You're going to think clearer. You're going to have better bowel movements. You're going to be more compassionate to other people. You're going to be more compassionate to yourself because you had a moment of stillness.
Mm, yeah. For folks who are struggling with, oh, I'm still not good enough yet at my medicine, because like I work with people who are yoga teachers, birth workers, EFT practitioners, licensed therapists who are
Yeah.
still feeling like I don't know enough.
Yeah.
And like even my one of my other mentors who's a hypnotherapist was like, sometimes people come and they're like, can we not do a session today? I
Yeah.
just need space for
Yeah.
someone to listen to me.
Yeah.
But you can only hold that container when you yourself have built some sort of comfort with stillness, instead of feeling like we need to fill in all of the empty space with just stuff, whether it's clutter in your room or clutter in your mind. And it's like, I have hundreds of unread books. And when I have a moment of silence to actually be able to sit down and read, I'm realizing all my body wants is to just do nothing. And that is when so many of the downloads come. And I'll read a book later and be like, oh, yeah, that's what I experienced.
Exactly. Exactly. And in order for me to fully assess what you need as a client coming to me, I have to get still. I can't be constantly talking. I can't be all over your body just haphazardly doing what I've been trained to do. Like everybody has to go through this. My business doesn't work that way. So when clients come in and they get on my table and we insert the speculum and I roll them over back onto their back, the first thing that I tell them, because they are nervous, number one, they have something in their butt, number two, the lights are dim, we have soft, they're like, wait a minute, like their body is like, what the hell is going on? So to overcompensate for the weirdness, I have them close their eyes and I say, just let go. I got you. Just let go. And when I see their knees flop open, and when you relax, your feet kind of fall open, and your chest kind of goes like this, that's when I start the colonic. Because a water can't move through a tight space like this. Water can't go through that. But if I relax the body enough, you see how the colon opens? Now water can move through. And the water, let's just talk about water. Let's just talk about water. Water. That simplicity of liquid, that clear liquid. How much that just, it can wash away toxins. It can rehab your bloodstream. It could revive your thought process. Your brain wraps around that water and sucks it in so you feel more alive, more alert. And that's just water. There's no chemicals in it, it's just water. And you are covering your colon with water. People start waking up. They're like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that all I needed to do was get this shit out of my body, then I can make a decision? Yeah. They're like, wait a minute, Mo. You mean to tell me that all I needed to do was have a good poop every day and I won't be upset and angry and my hormones won't be all haywire? Yes. It's very simple.
Mm.
Very, very simple.
But we humans overcomplicate it. There was something else I wanted to touch on, which you shared with me when I had my session with you, which was when you pointed out that my body has been in sympathetic mode for so long. And I realized that, oh, befriending my parasympathetic nervous system, which is, the rest and digest, was something that was unfamiliar to me.
Mhm.
You mentioned that when you give yourself more of that time and spaciousness for stillness to truly rest so that your body can digest,
Mhm.
that is when your ancestors will step in to assist. But right now, June, you are giving off the message that you have everything under control. So they're like, okay, we'll just let you do your thing.
Mhm. But that's also ego. That's ego thinking that we have it all together. Western society says your ego trumps everything. Fake it till you make it. I no longer subscribe to fake it till you make it. I don't have to fake anything. I prefer to be in the present, aware of constantly what I'm feeling versus fake until I make it. Like that is the most, I I don't want to say that I hate that phrase. Hate is such a difficult word to use. I dislike that phrase because it's misleading. It's
Yeah.
very, very misleading when somebody's on a path of understanding and wellness. So when we start talking about resting and digesting, who talks about that? Before I mention that to you, where else have you heard that term? You don't. People don't enforce rest, especially for women. Oh my God, if you're a woman, you should be resting. You should be doing something. You should be having babies. You should be looking for a man. You should be climbing the corporate ladder. You should be building a garden. You shouldn't be sitting down sipping on a cup of tea in your garden. Who do you think you are? Like, that's just not something that women are privy to. And when we start to adopt this slowed down process, everything changes. Everything becomes a challenge for other people because they truly want to rest too, but they're not going to rest until you give them permission to rest. You understand what I'm saying? So
Or we
people are
treat or we treat rest as the reward.
right. Like, I'm going to go ahead and hustle, 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 and then be off for a month. Girl, bye. If you don't get a nap in there some kind of way and be okay with taking a nap, like I'm gonna be honest with you. If I have about an hour in the middle of my day, I will go in the back and I will take a 20-minute nap. I'm not answering my phone. I'm taking a 20-minute nap. And every time I do that, I wake up renewed, refreshed, I'm ready to go, and I can return a phone call. I'm still on the clock. And I'm so grateful that I have the flexibility to allow my body to rest. I can allow my body to rest because I'm a type of person where I don't have a lot of energy to give out. Hence the reason why my boundaries are the way that they are. my battery runs out very, very quickly. So, in order for me to maintain my level of energy for the clients that I have booked, I have to have boundaries. And I have to look at everything I'm doing that is sucking my energy. But that came from being aware of how my body operates. Now I work in a very different light. I don't insert my opinion unless somebody asks me, because that is also a drain. Inserting yourself and making comments on other people. That person didn't ask me. They didn't ask me for my unsolicited advice. I stopped doing that. Now, if you want my advice, you got to pay for it. How about
Hmm.
that? Versus me just saying, oh, you should do this or oh, you should do that. It never comes back good because I wasn't
Yeah.
asked. I don't think of myself as a problem solver where I have to solve everybody's problems. I was in the bank the other day and a woman behind me was saying how she had digestive issues. Now, 8 years ago, I would have turned around and said, oh, I'm a colon therapist and I do this. I didn't say nothing. I stood right there and I stayed in my lane. And if spirit want me to work with her, something would have connected us there. She would have asked me something. I never said nothing. And I always have on my jacket, people always see what I do. So, I walked straight past her. I said, good morning. When I walked away, she said, oh, good morning. And she walked and she looked at my jacket and she's like, oh, what do you do? I gave her a card and I walked away. When you're ready, you call me. But I'm not going to insert myself into your life and tell you, you need to come here. No, ma'am. The
Yeah.
level of stress has come all the way down.
Mm.
It's come all the way down.
Yeah. So tell us more about now that everybody has had to shift, especially people like you who have relied predominantly on in-person services. What is it that you have learned to release in this process?
I have learned to release expectations. I have learned to release making up conclusions in my head about certain things. I have learned to release um, attachments. That's been the biggest thing for me is attachments. People, since this pandemic has started, are trying to hold on to their attachments, right? For me, I pay everything in cash if I can because I have a thing about debt. Debt and me and we don't mesh very well. I don't like debt. I don't like owing people a financial dollar amount. And if I do, I work off paying very hard to pay it off in large chunks. That's just me. So because I don't acquire a lot of stuff, the stress level to keep a lot of stuff wasn't there. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't
Hmm.
operate in the level of things and attachments.
Yeah.
Everything that I own is very simple, very, very simple. I own a very little small space up the street. I have my office and I have my property. I own my car outright. Like, I don't have a lot of bills going out. I just can't do it. Other people don't operate in that light. So I saw the fear in their eyes of losing these things. But when I think about it, I said, they're just things. It's okay to let it go. Do you really need it? Oh my God, I need this car. I got to have a Mercedes. But all cars and all wheels roll the same way. So if you downsize, is that so difficult? I mean, but it's up to you if you want to roll like that. But you're paying an $800 car note. I'm just saying, downsizing just a little bit, maybe half, maybe, and you can still keep the windows tinted. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out for you. But not having so much attachments to things, not having expectations on how things should play out, and expectations and conclusions. I no longer make up the conclusion in my mind. You know how we sit in things and we're like, oh, this is going to happen. I can already tell. Like, I stopped doing that. I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. And they're like, Mo, you know what's going to happen? It's, the city is going to crash and we're going to do this new world order. I don't know what's going to happen, but I tell you what, I have my lime green bikini in one hand in case we stay on the beach. And then I have herbs in the other hand to make sure that my colon stays open. So whatever happens, I'm ready.
Yes, and I like to ask myself, it's like I'm playing a game with the universe. All right, this situation is happening outside of me, but how is it that I can co-create what will happen next? And that will unfold based off of how it is I am going to respond to this situation. I can either see myself as a victim, which, by the way, I get into those moments still every other day. I need to feel sorry for myself for like a couple of seconds, and then I need to bounce back and be like, all right,
Uh,
okay. What
yeah.
is the medicine underneath this experience, and how is it that this will one day be an amazing story I get to tell?
Yes.
I'm going to write the ending.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And we can only do that from a place of stillness.
Mm,
You can't do that from a place of busyness. It's impossible for you to do that. It's
yeah.
impossible. Busyness and being in alignment with spirit does not roll in the same boat. It just doesn't.
Whew.
Mhm.
Oh, what was that exhale? Where did that come from? So, for people who are interested in receiving more of your medicine without feeling like they need to fly over to you, which is still a
Right.
possibility, where is it that people can go and find you?
Definitely. So you can go to my website at Moya, Moya, bodycare.com. That's moyabodycare.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Moya Body Care. And if you're not local, but you feel like you want to have a conversation about how to start shifting some things around, you can do a one on one consultation with me via Zoom, or we can do it through phone, however you want to do it. But you can reach out to me by calling me at 562-682-0818, and I can talk to you a little bit more about what comes in that consultation, if a consultation is even right for you. Normally I talk to people for about 3 or 4 minutes before they figure out which way they want to go, literally. So you can always call me, and say just, hey Mo, I heard you with June on her podcast. I would like to connect, but I'm not sure where to start, because not everybody's going to start with a consultation. Not everybody's going to start with a colonic. And that's just something that I've learned with my business, is that I'm able to work with different people in different volumes, in different lights. Yeah. Some people need a 90-day program with me, and I've done those. Some people just need to work with me for 7 days straight. I've done that. Some people just need a one on one consultation for 1 hour. I've done that. So you can totally call me and just say, hey, I don't know where to start, but this is where I want to end up.
Ooh, yes. Start with the end in mind, and then we'll fill in the details from there. I was also a participant in the master cleanse, which was intense. I know that if I did not sign up with you to hold my hand through the process, I would have fallen off. If you're not familiar with the master cleanse, it's lemon, water, cayenne,
And
maple syrup.
great big maple syrup. Yep.
And you're like, June, stop trying to substitute.
Yes.
Just stick with the protocol.
But you know what? You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Everybody does the same thing. Everybody comes into the cleanse. Now, the cleanse is perfect the way it is. So, what June is talking about, I host a master cleanse group every month for 10 days straight for the master cleanse. Now, we communicate via WhatsApp, but we also chat Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. during the master cleanse of 10 days. It is intense. That's why we have the communication the way that it's laid out. But here's the thing, when we are trying to accomplish a goal, we want allies, right? We want people to see and understand why we have to change the recipe so that you don't have to change what you have to do on your back end, right? So that's the subtle clarity in that, is that I really don't want to change what I want to do, but I want to do this cleanse, but I'm going to make it more convenient for me because this is not really convenient. And everybody comes in, June, with that same idea. And I look at people and I go, love, in order for you to create change, you have to willingly let go of what got you here in the first place. And people fight me on that, and they fight me on that. And I just stop them and I go, let me stop you. The cleanse is perfect. It doesn't need any more, it doesn't need any less. It works the way it is. Why do you feel you can't improve it? Let's just talk about that. And then at the end, right at the end of the conversation, people be like, well, I really don't want to change. I still want to eat what I want to eat. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
And how you show up on your wellness journey is a reflection of how it is you're showing up in other
Everything else.
areas of
Everything
your
else.
life. I'm also going to link the free guided meditation that Mo has created
Yeah.
called Wings and Tails that you can practice on your own, because the truth is, none of us can heal you, none of us can fix you. This is a collaboration. So really the bulk of the work happens when you don't have someone there to hold your hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That's when you're in the darkness of it, and when you're in the stillness, and you have the herbs moving through your system, or the master cleansers moving through your cells, and you're sitting there on the edge of your bed, Monday morning, and you're on the fifth day of this cleanse, and you look at yourself in the mirror. That's when shit starts moving. Like, literally, it doesn't move when you get to my office. It moves when you exhale for the first time in the morning, and you wake up and you open your eyes and you start feeling the difference in your cells, in your tissues, in your bloodstream, in the way that you're thinking. You look at your face and you go, wow, I'm doing it. I'm really doing this. Yes, you are, love. You can change anything you want to change as long as it's consistent.
Consistency with stillness. So I have one more question,
Yes.
my most favorite question of all. If you could speak to yourself in this moment as a future ancestor who is reflecting back on all of the incredible work they have done in this lifetime,
Hmm.
but also is also speaking to somebody who deals with the doubts and the fears,
Mhm.
what is it that you would say?
As my future self, as an ancestor, what would I say to
Mhm.
myself? Wow. I don't think I've ever thought of myself as an ancestor. That is deep. That's a deep question. Um, I think I would say trust your inner spirit more, because I'm still doubting some. I'm human, it's going to happen. But I think I would say continue to use coconut oil, yes. And then also to not doubt as much as I do. And I've gotten less, but to know that you know, and that's it. You just know. You don't need to know why you know. You don't need to know how you know. You just need to realize that you know, and that's enough. Hence the reason why you are an ancestor.
Yeah. We are all ancestors in the making and also ancestors in the comeback. So every word you speak is like, um, Monisha is already an ancestor. All right. Is an ancestor that got away with being in a body.
Yes,
I love you so much.
too. I love you
Mm,
too. I appreciate
yeah.
you.
And there's also no coincidence that TMI, to my listeners, sorry, not sorry. But I gotta poop right now. So I'm gonna end this conversation.
I love it. However, I can inspire you. Yes, go for it.
Oh,
I appreciate you so much.